Hi guys, Squad here. Welcome to another episode of my realistic playthrough of Derail Valley. We're at the machine factory and we've managed to pick up our part for our SO60. It's a brand new boiler. We need to get this back to the museum to fit it. But as I said to you in a previous episode, because we have so much money now, well, quite a lot. I mean, that is a lot, but in the game you could easily lose that by blowing up some missiles, for example. You can lose that kind of money, don't worry about that. But since we have some money, I'm not going to head directly back to the museum or even directly back to the harbour. What I'm going to do is have a look at these jobs and see if we can get something interesting, possibly out the museum, I don't know. We'll kind of work our way from the machine factory back to City South, but in what direction, we'll just kind of let the jobs dictate that. And we'll take a more scenic view. I'm not too worried about the bonuses now or going point to point. I'm interested in some kind of hauling some interesting loads that we've not really hauled before or going to places that we've not been to. Anyway, let's get started. Right, let's go and have a look at these jobs. We have a very high paying job down to the harbour. We have a logistical haul to the harbour. In fact, we have more than one logistical haul to the harbour. We actually have... What's that one? That is a freight haul of stuff. Quite a lot of stuff down to the harbour. Then we've got two machine factory jobs. One of them's logistic. The other one is... Well, it's a long two logistic and empty containers. So it's $7,000. Hardly even worth dropping that one off. And then we have a City South up there and a drop-off unload job. So... I am not going to just take these because they'll just steer us straight to the harbour. Let's kind of have a quick look at the military side of things and see if there's anything better there. Although these will either go to harbour or up to the military base. Yeah, I mean, they're not great either, are they? But they're both down to military base. Okay, forget them. Right, in that case then, what I might do is take the job to the food factory, which is up here. I'm not going to go via Iron Mine West because there's nothing here for us really. That will always go to places like the steel mill. What I might do is I might go via the oil refinery. So if we perhaps come out of here and go via the oil refinery to the food factory, there's sometimes jobs out of here to the food factory as well. So that's a possibility. I feel like that's just not even worth the hassle. This one, we could drop that. And also, why not? Why not take this? Because this is such a high-paying job. We'll forget those two. But I'm thinking, let's take this one. We'll put that one next to the locomotives. Because we're eventually going to end up at the harbour. No matter what, if you want to get down to City South, unless you go sawmill, you're almost always going to have big jobs to harbour. So why not just take that anyway, because it's worth a lot of money. We're never going to get the bonus on it, but it doesn't matter. It's worth $126,000. That'll more than pay the bills. And we'll take this one, and we'll make a drop there. But on the way, let's go via oil refinery up here. Sometimes we can get jobs to the food factory. Then from the food factory, we can, if you have a look on here, the output of the food factory, it'll send some stuff to the harbour. So we could take some of that. It'll also send things to the city. Any city, in fact. It'll generate to any city. That could be City South or City West, but probably a harbour job would be interesting. And then we could even stop at the Orwell North and see if we can get some more stuff to the harbour and then just take all of that down to the harbour. Yeah, something like that. So let's take this one first, put that next to the loco, and then we'll take that one and we'll head off to the food factory for our first drop. Right, so we're all set. I've got just the front DE6 running. I shunted it around the DH4 because it's more efficient fuel-wise. And we've got the locomotives here, which is FH40. There it is. Locomotives, I should say trams. Followed by the logistic cars, which is LH18, which is just on the back over here. LH18, and the back car's also LH18, so I've checked everything. We're ready to go. I'm just going to hand these jobs in. But before I do that, we want to set our routing out of the machine factory. So we're going to be coming out here and hanging a left this time. Then we're going to kind of northeast bound. We want to keep left, and then we'll go into the oil refinery. We'll have to set that up in a second. And then we're going to head on down to the food factory where we're going to make our first drop. So in terms of the oil refinery, which is this one. Just double check that. Yes, oil refinery. So the oil refinery is quite complicated. The last time we went there, though, we have driven straight through it. I don't know if we're going to make a drop or not, but what we'll do, because B Yard, there is an empty lane here in B Yard, and it is possible that we're going to get a pickup. And if we get a pickup, it won't be out the storage... Well, it could be out the storage lines, but it's more likely to be out the output lines. The storage lines tend to have logistic jobs in them. So I think in this instance, we'll go through B. Normally, I would sort of trundle through there if we're not stopping. But it has the added advantage that the station's here as well. So if we keep left as we go into here, and then we'll keep left again, and then merge into that switch there, go into B, we'll keep left, 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 and then right, left, 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 and right. And we are coming in from the south. So we'll drive straight through there, stop on the other side, have a look at the station. If there's anything coming out of an output line we want, we'll take it, and then we'll head on our way up to the food factory. The food factory is going to be our first drop, and that goes into C9S, which is a storage unit. And C9S is here, so this is C. Now, if you look at this, you may wonder what's the best way of getting in. There is a possibility that these input lines are both tied up and there'll be nothing. We've seen this before where they're all completely full. And then we're stuck because we need to get on the other side of it to make a drop. So I think our safest bet is to go through B, which is a passenger terminal. And because passenger services don't run in Derail Valley currently, we know that nothing's going to be happening there. So we'll trundle through the B line. This is an empty line here, so we could just keep left through that. Keep left through that, straight through. And then we can reverse back into C. So from C, we'll be coming back into the north, from the north side. So we're reversing from this end. So we'll keep right, 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 right into 9S. And we'll just double check that. Yep. Into 9S. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, rewatch it. I am going at speed now because we are on episode, what, 30 or something? So I'm assuming you guys have picked up a lot more than when I was on episode 1. Anyway, they're handed in. I'm going to run over to the front here. The sun is fading. I think it will be late evening, probably, by the time we get down there. It may be going dark. Once we've dropped this off here, this lot, we'll try and get the bonus for that. This has no hope of getting a bonus, so it's not out the question for us to sleep if we want to get through the night. Because I'd rather drive around in the day for you guys, mostly, if possible. So let's get inside and then see what time it is when we get down to the oil refinery and the food factory, but we're probably going to end up sleeping somewhere. Well, it's coming up on our left turn, dynamic brake all the way down the slope there, gets down to 50, and then the gradient drops to minus 0.8, so we can back off on the dynamic a little bit. We're not carrying tremendous weight. I did actually work it out. Combined total of the consist is about 500 tons. All in with everything else, about 1,100 tons. And the length, which I didn't set, is about 1, 2, 3, 4. It's around about 440 or so. In fact, can we get a view on the back there? Let's make sure the back of that comes through at 50. Yep, that looks good. I do tend to use the remote, you know, from over here looking at something. If you bring up the remote, you can see what speed you're doing rather than running back. That is quite a handy thing to do. Now we're up to 80 and we are basically coming over this bit of water here. So more or less straight through up to the oil refinery. And we're approaching the next switch, which it says there's a 60 limit. That probably applies to the right turn, although I think it's less than 60. I think this is probably 60 then, and that's probably like a 40 right. I can't exactly remember. There you go, 50 right, 60 left, that's fine. That actually looks sharper on the map than it actually is. I'm surprised that's a 50 and not a 40. Okay, so we're now here. I think we've got a left turn there and then a fairly sharp right turn, and then we need to reduce our speed coming into the refinery anyway because we'll be shunting across some tracks. We'll start decelerating now. About 300 yards or so to the... well, 300 meters or so to the switching gear. A little bit of brake as we go around the left. Interestingly, it's on a negative incline, look. So you actually drop down into the oil refinery. I hadn't really spotted that before. And now we're on flat ground. Perfect. So here we are. That's the storage yard. That's the station over there. And there is actually a DH4 on that line there, but the one next to it is a clear line. Yeah, if you look, that input line's got stuff on it. So what we'll do is we'll put some light braking on here. And we'll just go and jump out. Should be a bit less than that. I may as well let the train roll forward a lot more. Yeah, I'll do. Let's have a quick look. If we've got anything up to the food factory, that would be nice. That goes food factory. Machine factory, machine factory, machine factory. So they're all coming back to where we came from. Harbour, not particularly well paying. That one looks quite nice, but that's a shunting job. Oh, that's annoying. That's gasoline up to the food factory. That would be a really nicely paying job, but we don't have time to prepare it because we need to carry on and drop this first lot off to the food factory if we want the bonus for it. Having said that, one option is to forget the bonus on this one. It's only 34k, and do the bonus on that one, but there's not a massive difference between them. That goes to C4I. If you have a look at the food factory, we're going into C anyway. So we could, in theory, put that on 4I as we go in, and then 9S. So I think that's probably worth taking, just for a little extra 15k or so. That's on B40 at the moment. Let me just double check it's on the front of B40. Is this it here by any chance? No, it's not that one. B40 is there. Okay. I just want to make sure it's not bedded in. It shouldn't be, but you never know. $26. That's that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. Okay. We'll take that. So we're going to reverse into these cars here, hand that job in. And it'll be a little extra bit of pay. I think we're going to end up sleeping at the food factory by the look of it. Because it'll be well and truly night time by then. Okay, so that's going to hook that up there. And the brakes on the rear car. We may have to start another D6 for this job, I'm not sure, because this adds another 220 tons, which brings it up to about 1330, which is it's quite a bit. You know, 1200 rated, up a 2% gradient for one D6. The trouble is, I think, if I remember, it's a bit of a climb up into the food factory. Or rather, it's a climb from here and then a drop from there, so I think what I'll do is I'll just start the second D6 up just to make sure that we definitely get up that hill. Because we are hill starting where we are as well now. I'd rather get there easily than just, you know, try and save a little bit of fuel. Which, you know, saving a bit of fuel by only having one D6 but struggling just sounds pointless. So we'll give it some extra oomph. We've got the lights on reverse. That's because that was in reverse. And we'll turn on the sun. And we'll bring some power in. And a bit more power in. And then we'll release the brakes. Yes, this is a 1% gradient already, look, and it's climbing as well. So I think that was probably the right move. Okay, a bit of an aggressive 30k just came in there. You come climbing up the hill, and it says 60 all the way up, and then you go through a tunnel, and as you come out of the tunnel, it immediately says 30 right, 20 left. Like literally no notice. This bit of track here, that's a tunnel, and then it suddenly goes 30 right, 20 left. And you're already coming up there at 60. It's hilarious. Watch out for that one. Anyway, so we've got to drop it, let's see, C4I, so we're going to need to, let me just put some dynamic on here. I forgot to add the length of that to there, didn't I? It's about there-ish. Just keep the speed under 30. We need to go into C3I at the food factory rather than 9S. So 3I is not listed. 4I is where we're going. So instead of going right, we'll go left, and then we'll go right. So we go into here. Make that drop, pull forward, and then do 9S. Then we're more or less done. Just keep the speed under control for a second. I tell you, before this gadget came into the game, trying to do this without going external camera was very difficult. There we go, we should do it. Yeah, there you go, 1.5%, roughly, nearly 2% coming down into the food factory here. So just manage your speed, because when you do, you go through like a little tunnel, and when you come out the tunnel, you're immediately turning. So keep it under 40 to 50 is my advice. There's the little tunnel, and you're straight into a 50 limit. Now this should be... that should take us to the right now through that passenger line. And there's 4I, that's our first drop. This is roughly where we get off. Take us back into that yard. Now that out of there is a hill. It does, like we've been here before, and the food factory's in a basin, so it comes down into here, and then it goes back up that way. So this thing will naturally start to break anyway. But we should be stood next to this switch here, if we've got this right. That one. That's the C switch there. Okay, now we can get some proper brakes. So we'll take a ride. And left and right into 4i, looks good. Right, we only need to go to like here for these cars. That'll do us nicely. Let's get that moving. And since the station's here, we might as well just hand this in. That's that one. There you go, 22,000. Easy money. And the next one is going to be 9S, I think, which does have cars on it, which is often the case. So we're going to have to push them back. So not quite as straightforward for this one. Okay, right. 9S. That's the problem with these logistic jobs as well, is you often find you've got to take cars there, but there's quite often cars waiting, and not only just one car, you might have 2 jobs worth of cars, and each individual job will have braked units, like they'll have the handbrake on. So you can't just assume when you roll up to one of these things that there aren't more cars further down with handbrakes on. Yeah, you pretty much have to check everything. Given the length of this job here, we really are going to have to squeeze these things on. And sure enough, there's one car. So what I'm going to do is knock the brake off that. And we'll just give it a little friendly tap. We'll basically just get it moving. That's what we're doing. Where's the yard limits? The yard limit's really hard to see because there's a bush in the way. What I do is just put the chain on that if I can. This is really awkward, isn't it? Good grief. Right, there we go. If I just put the chain on that briefly, it just means that when I do stop, it'll stop this thing as well. Meanwhile, if I go back down the front here, we can see where the limit is. Okay, right, handbrake is on. Now, in theory, we should go and disconnect that other car down there, but in practice, we don't really need to. Also, since I'm probably going to sleep through the night, I think we'll quickly hand this in. It was on 29 out of 58 minutes. So, let's turn these locos off, and we'll sleep, and then we'll head out. We'll have a look at the jobs and then head out. So, would you believe I slept through the night and I woke up to this? Yeah. Well, anyway, so it is coming up on 6 a.m. I'm expecting a weather forecast that will be completely wrong shortly, but it's probably going to say rain. Well, I think we can see what the weather is. I've had a look through the jobs and nothing particularly amazing, but there's definitely stuff we can work with. There is a cracking job over there just to unload stuff for 60,000, which is definitely something I would have done in the earlier game. And then the rest of them is just drop off stuff and then one pick up to the harbour. There are 4 jobs that go to the harbour. We'll talk about them in a second. And then we've got an Orwell refinery job, which is where we came from, an Orwell North that we are technically going to, if we go that way anyway, but not really worth 6k. And then we've got a sawmill job to deliver scrap wood from the food factory all the way down there. That's the wrong direction. We need to go to the harbour. So looking at these 4 jobs to the harbour, I think these 2 are the choice ones. They're doable, but they're not worth a lot. These 2 are interesting because they're delivering cat food and canned food and dairy products, which sounds good to me. They're also worth 40k each, which even that's 80 without a bonus. So looking at this one, this goes to E8i, and our current job goes to E9i, so that sounds pretty compatible. So I think if we put that one right behind our current train, then we know we've got the last two jobs are dropping to E, and then we can take that one, which then goes to C. So what I need to do now is go and find these. They're on C70 pickup and then a C50 pickup. So they're all in the C yard, which is for the food factory here where we are now. So they're all here. I just need to pull forward. I'm almost certainly going to need to use 2 locomotives because we've already got 620 tons currently just on the locomotives. We're 261 with the trams, 621 with this, 707 with that. That's nearly 2,000 tons and about 570 meters. So we're going to fire up 2 D6s. I'll probably fire up the rear 2 because the front one's been running the most. So I think, given all of the cars will have been reset because I slept, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up here. That's already brake cut. We'll take the brake off that one. So this one here, we'll take the handbrake off this one. And we'll cut that one in and fire that one up. And then this one here, which we've not started at all yet, we'll leave that one cut out. Fire that one up. That's the handbrake off on that one. Let me just check that the brakes are on, which they're not. Oh, I've got that weird bug. Okay, I'm going to have to restart my game, I think. That's going to stay off, and that's brake cut out. And I need to take the handbrake off on that one. And that should be all of them. Let me just try tabbing out and back in again. That sometimes fixes that problem. Nah. You see, I put the brake on, I let go, and it automatically goes back off again. That is a bug that I get in the game sometimes. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. So I'll just put the handbrake on the front car temporarily. Yeah, if I put it in the reverser in, it's fine, but if I try to apply a brake or a throttle, I can't. I'm going to have to restart my game and carry on. Right, simple reload, fix that one. That's been in the game for a long time, that bug. It just happens infrequently when you switch devices and things too quickly, and it gets itself in a little bit of a mess, and tabbing out usually fixes it, but not this time. Anyway, so it's chucking down with rain, and when I did try to move, I noticed the wheel spun quite a bit, so this is going to be a very interesting run out of this hill. I think traction's going to be a very real issue. That is FH86. Oh, you scumbag. Come on. There we go. And it's the rear car. Of course it is. Well, I put 2 pips of power in. There you go. Wheel slip straight away. Ooh, reefer units. Okay, so they got picked up out of 7.0, and then the next lot is in 4.0. Just double check that job. 86 and then 19 out of 7.0. So I think it's that one there. Okay, that should hopefully be enough. So 7.0, 5.0, right, left into 5.0. And if I've got that right, the train should come to here. And the handbrake's on the front car. Lovely. It's almost like this car senses that it's about to get connected to, the way the whole physics seems to initialize. It's weird. Right, let's get a bit of braking on. If the tracks are wet, you need to allow a lot more time for braking. Tighten that up before it disconnects again. Do you know what? I think it's getting brighter. I'm not entirely sure. But I think it might be... Actually, I don't know. I wonder if the forecast has been updated, which is still broken. Well, it says what the weather is. Whether the rest of it's correct, who knows? Right, let's get going here. That's the jobs handed in. Now we need to decide exactly where we're going. Because these jobs go down to the harbour, and we're not really expecting a bonus for them. But which direction do we go from here? I think we should go to Orwell North, have a look for a job there, and then possibly the goods factory, depending on what we find here. We're currently carrying 2,000 tons, so we've got capacity for about another 1,000 tons. There may be some nice hazmat coming out of Orwell North, down to the harbour. If not, then we'll have a look at the goods factory, which will almost certainly have something for the harbour. Other than that, we are on our way. It's got to be steady on the power until the wheels get turning. This is a hill start on wet track. Not the easiest. Just got to be patient with the power delivery. Okay, right, let's set up our switches for our journey. So we're going to want to go right through here and then left into Orwell North. And at Orwell North, we're going to want to try and loop around. Now, we've done this before. There are two ways of doing it, but the way I'm going to go is to the right. So we'll go through into C, and we'll go right, left. That'll take us straight through C. That will then bring us around this loop where we will keep right, and then we'll merge, 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 and we'll stop the back of the train here somewhere. And then I'll have a look in the station if we've got any jobs while it's going around that loop. If there is, they're probably out of B, but sometimes out of C. And we're effectively looking for stuff to take us down to the harbour. It doesn't matter which way we go, but if we don't find anything particularly great here, the option is to then go into the goods factory, pick up something at the goods factory, and then head out to the harbour via this route. That'll be the quickest. Then from harbour back to museum with the part. Right, the wheel slip is so bad that I've had to put the sander on just to get up this hill. Absolutely crazy. That's going to cost us extra money in sand, but it is what it is. That hill climb was pretty brutal, and on a wet track, really not easy. And we started to lose momentum. I was getting down to 20 at one point, so I had to throw the sand in, get the power in, just get it moving again. And even now, it's a real struggle. Okay, we're over the worst of it. Let's back the power off. We're now heading into a downslope, so we're okay. But yeah, that was touch and go up there. If only used a little bit of sand, it's fine. So that was that section of track, which is quite twisty. Alright, here we are. Orwell North. I need to bring the speed right down. Oh, that's a lot of wheel slip. Okay, we want to be cruising around there at like 30 or so that should do it. It's relatively flat where we are. We'll just keep our eye on that speed. If we set that up correctly, that will do its thing and go all the way around the yard. And if not, well, we'll hear a big bang. And then we'll have to pay for it. So yeah, perfectly safe day to be outside. And I just fell through the map. Genius! Okay. I don't think that's ever happened before. I think I just found a bug. Let me reload it. Interestingly, I managed to swim back. I kept pressing F and I managed to come out. I fell through here somewhere. And I kept spamming F and looking up and I managed to bring myself back around. At which point the whole train had gone round the whole thing. But yeah, I didn't have to load it back in. Wowzers. Alright, let's have a quick look at these jobs. We've got one to the harbour for 30k. We've got one to the oil refinery, City South, which we could have taken. Goods factory, 5.5. I mean, we could take that. It's going to E9I, methane. The trouble with that is we've got two C jobs. Actually, we've got E and C jobs, haven't we? We've got two E's and then a C. Tell you what, if I... That's that, that's that, that's that. If we just stop the train a second, we may be able to get quite smart here. Because the back job is... Which job is that? That's FH19. And that's going to C yard. But this one here is going to E yard. So if we find the back of FH19, which is somewhere along here, 86, 86, 19. Right. I brought some flags with me, which are actually going to come in handy now. So that job there is going to go to the C yard, but this one in front, everything in front's going to E. And the job that we just picked up or had a look at, if I pull this forward a little bit, I think what we can do is basically pick up this new job and stick it in between the E and the C, and therefore we've got a C drop followed by a whole lot of E's is what I'm thinking. So that one there, no, not that one there, where's it gone? That one there goes to E9I. So if we basically put that like this, then we'll have a C drop and then an E, then an E, then an E. In fact, doesn't that one go to E9I along with that one? Wait a minute, there's an even more efficient drop. Oh, that goes to E8, that goes to E9, and that goes to E9. So the trams are 9. Yes, I want it from the trams forward, don't I? Yeah, we want to break it from the trams, is where we want to break it. And then this pickup is going to go to... going to come from B yard, B30, which is here. Left, right. Yeah, I think this will work. So what I'm going to do is going to get this to the back of the trams, And I'm going to pull the trams forward and then connect this job into it and then reverse back and join it back together again. And that will mean the last two jobs get dropped at the same track. I was going to do it further down, just so we've got an E-drop, but then I realised that the trams are actually going to the same destination as that job over there. So we'll stop this here. Get the brake on. Okay, how heavy is this job that we're taking? Methane, 378 tons. So I mean, we still have more capacity. Like, we could go to the goods factory and look for another 700 tons. I need to get it forward of this point here. Nope, I just messed that up. I'm lucky if I didn't derail this. We'll see what happens. There we go, it's pushed it back. I almost derailed that car then. Right. So yeah, got the wrong switch. We want that one. Right, and then... got that wrong again. Okay, left then right. I did have it correct. And then into 3-0 for the pickup. Lovely. Yeah, so this is getting interesting. Doing multiple drops like this. Once you start focusing on getting the bonuses and just focus on picking up lots of things that are going in the same direction, you can still make pretty good money and have a lot of fun on the way. But what I'm doing here, optimizing, you don't need to do this. You could just go down there and do all your shunting down at the harbour. Or with a little bit of planning, you can do it here and make your life easy when you get to the harbour. But once you've got the time pressure removed, it doesn't really matter. That's FH01, which I assume is what that job is, yep. Lovely. Right. That breaks off. Just make sure these are all from the same job. FH01. So what's that going to add? That's going to add another 378 tons and another 131 meters on top, which I need to factor in. And that means we've got E9. So I rearrange these jobs now, because what we've actually got is that. So we've got the trams at E9, we've got this methane at E9, then we've got an E8, then we've got a C2. That's our current job list. Right, let's get this handed in. Let's go into E9I, which is correct. Yeah, so I think we will go to the goods factory anyway. We've got 2,333 tons. We are just around the corner. It is a climb into the goods factory, but I've noticed it is stopping raining. So by the time we get there, the track may have dried out, in which case 2 D6s will haul this. Our train length is now up to about 708 meters. I am actually going to have to reverse this a little bit more, aren't I? Because I need to go left here. The track is still a little bit damp though. While it's doing that, I'll figure out... So Orwell North, we want to come out of here. Just be careful I don't switch this track accidentally here. So we're going to go left into the goods factory. And at the goods factory, I'm going to plan for a drive straight through D. If we can't find anything here, everything will be out of D anyway, but we'll drive straight through D. So we're going to keep left through C yard, and then keep left and left into D yard. So we'll just make sure C has taken us through the loading bay, which it is. And then we'll make sure C has taken us straight through, which it is. And then finally make sure D is going to go right, left, which it is. So we're just going to drive straight through here. Like round that loop there. Bring the back of the train here. When it's going around that loop, I'll jump in the station. See if there's any jobs out of D that we want to the harbour. That'll be our final pickup, I think. And then from the goods factory, we're going to head off down to the harbour. So out of the goods factory, I would expect us to stay... We'll probably do this journey. We'll go right through there. So we're going to come out of here, we'll go right, and then we'll come through here and go left down to the factory. Make sure I've got that correct. Left through here and then left into the harbour. Okay, that should more or less do us. To make sure that out of Orwell North we are going the correct way. Which I don't think we are currently. Something's not right here. Where's that? That's that one. There. That's the one I wanted. Not this one. That one. Okay. Right. Clock's ticking. I think we can turn the wipers off now. And we can probably dial that back a little bit. By the time we get to the goods factory, it might even be pleasant. Right, we're just about approaching the goods factory here. I did try turning the wipers off, but it must be really like drizzly or something outside because it kept getting a bit fuzzy again. We'll see how it is now. Okay, so the important thing is we need to go around that loop at 30 k's, no more. Yeah, I think it is actually brightening up. I'll just get most of the train onto the flat stuff. There we go. Just throttle it right down and just let it cruise around. Let's jump out and have a quick look in the station. Just keep our eye on that speed. Okay, have you got anything good for us? Oh, God. We're not having a tremendous amount of luck here, are we? They're all like little piddly jobs. Funnily enough, there's another E8. We've actually got an 8, haven't we, somewhere? We've got 2 9s and 8, and then a C. We could actually put that in between that one and that one. Since we've got an E8I drop anyway. That's going to D30. So it would actually be 8... be that one there. Would need to go to here. And then we pick up that one. So it's going out D30. And the break in the job we're looking for is this one here, the C job, which is FH19, which I think, uncannily enough, didn't I already put a flag down for that? FH19. On this left side somewhere. There is the flag. 86. Yeah, 86. And then 19 is right there, so That's where we want to break this car. Let's keep it moving. So D30 then is going to be this one here. We're going to be reversing back into this. I'll just flick that to left for now. I'll keep these as we are. So the whole train's going to go through here. We're going to break this section here and just leave it there. Pull the rest forward, grab that, and then reconnect to this and head out. Well, hand the job and then head out. You can see the front of the train's over there. Now this curve here is 30k, but as you come out of the goods factory, as you come out of it here, it's actually an upslope, so it will start to lose speed as we come around there. But yeah, this is quite fun, inserting jobs into our consist. It just shows you how much of a slope it is up there. I didn't even put the brake on and this thing just stopped itself and started rolling back. In fact, just trying to shunt this out of there, I had to put the sand down. The wheel slip is that bad. So I guess the track is still a bit damp, even though it's quite sunny now. And it is quite an incline out of the goods factory. So I think I'm probably going to start the third D6 as well, just to give us a bit more power and traction. Because we're looking at 2,500 tons now for this whole train. So quite a bit. And then the length of it is about 871 meters, so there's quite a lot going on. So this is our new pickup, and that's our job on the back that goes to the sea yard that we're going to have to drop off first. It's a gut on the brakes. This is a lot of weight now. Okay, now, I don't know if this is going to move this with 2. We'll try it. We'll need sand. Yeah, it basically, sand is required. Also, it probably wouldn't be a bad shout to put a flag on this. That 86 there. Okay, so that is that one. Okay, all hooked up, so that should be 19 on the back, followed by 14, which we're about to hand in. So let's go and hand this in, and then I'll jump to the front, start the other D6 and get out of here. Alright, job's handed in. We need to, need to start this front engine up now because we're hill starting. We're up to 2,500 tons total weight on the train, and this is now... so 871, so 900, 1, 2, 880, that should do us. The train braking is going to take a while to release, so I'm going to bring it down a bit. We're going to get a notch of power in. And then try releasing the rest of it, just so that the brakes hold and it doesn't roll backwards. There we go. Little bit of wheel slip, but the track is dry now. Let's watch that wheel slip light. We can take those lights off. They've reset for some stupid reason. In fact, we could probably go daylight on them. Okay, we're looking good. We have got a very long train. I can actually show you the length of this now. It goes all the way back here. And what's cool about this train is it's got so many different types of goods in it. You know, normally I haul long stuff and it's all very, very similar, but these cars are very, very different this time round. Well, you can see how long the train is. It actually looks longer than 871 meters, but that's what I calculated it to be from all the jobs. I do think I have set this correctly, but I am just going to double check now. So we're coming out of the goods factory to this merge track here, and we're going to keep right through there, then keep left down to here and into the harbour. I'm going to pick up the speed as best I can. Now, looking at our job list, we have 2 for E9, 2 for E8, but the first drop is C2I. So if we have a look at the harbour, we're going to be dropping into here first. So we're going to have to keep left again, keep left again, and then left, left. I'm going to set E for a straight through initially. So that'll be right then left. And then C will have to be set for 2I. So that'll be right and then left, right, left. That will get us into C yard. So the plan is we're going to basically come into here. I'll jump out somewhere here. The rest of the train will go straight through. We'll reverse back into C, make the drop, and then we'll have to see where the front of the train is, because if the front of the train is now beyond the start of E, if it's like here somewhere, then we've got two choices. We either pull all the way forward so we can reverse back into the correct E yard, or we pull forward and reverse into C actually has a loading bay. So we can actually reverse back into the loading bay to make the front of the train so that we can drive straight into E. E8I and then E9I. So it's going to be interesting. We're definitely dealing with big boy problems now, but it's all perfectly doable. We've got our plan. First thing is we're going to join into this merge track at 40. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Right, we've got a 40 limit, but we've actually got a 30 limit on this bend, so it's 40 on the junction, but then 30 on this bend, so I'm just going to slow down a little bit. And then we'll start the distance tracker. It's all uphill. There was a heck of a gradient up there. It was like 2% at that point. But we need to make sure we keep the rest of it at 30 through here. Funnily enough, we're now going downhill. A lot of our journey should be downhill from here, to be honest. I think this is more or less the highest point. Look at that. Look at that. Can't even see the back yet. Crazy. 32 is good. Yep, there it is, I think. Yeah, there you go. There's the back of the train. So more of it is going to start reaching that peak and going downhill now. So we're picking up speed. I'm just going to back the throttle right off. And then we might have to even brake this just to keep it under 30 until we're through that distance. Yep, minus 1.5 gradient. But a 60 limit. So the next thing we're facing, we're going around this bit right now. We're facing a long left turn and then a right turn down through this junction here. We could go that way, but it makes it a pain to get into the C yard. So it's better if we go this way. Blimey, look at that gradient. Remember, when you see those signs, they're not actually the gradient, they're the average gradient on that stretch. So you do get these, like, look, wild swings between -4 and 0, but it averages at minus whatever it was, minus 1.5 I think it said. The back of the train is about to pass through that 30 limit. There we go. That took a long time. Let's put that on. And then we've got another speed limit coming up. I think we're about to hit the junction soon. It's set for maximum. Yep, 300 meter distance on the switch. And it's a right, which we're expecting a right turn there. So this is the long turn down. I'm just going to get some braking on. I don't want to speed to start running away now. And this is the right switch here. Okay, we're on 50, we're fine. Right, so with the lake on our left, we're basically just coming around that corner there. We're just here now. We're about to enter this tunnel, and then we've got a pretty sharp left. If I remember, the speed goes down to 40 or something. So I'm going to plan for a 40 left turn. It says 60, but I'm still not sure I believe it. Can't see the junction yet. I can see a 4. Yeah, there you go, 40 left turn. Derail Valley almost sets you up for failure. If ever you find yourself going downhill towards a junction, always assume the worst, is my advice. Always assume that that junction's going to have a sharp turn on it. It loves to build up your momentum and then throw you into a switch. Okay, right, we need to start the timer. I mean, even that felt too quick, and that was at 40, that was at the limit. I'm going to get the brake on, because if you notice, it's actually got a down gradient as well. So even the wheels don't like that when we're doing the limit. Let's just get the DRLs on. I'm going to assume 40 until we're past this, and then we've got a sharp right-hand turn as well, so I think we're going to be stuck at 40 for a little while. Yep. And then I'm keeping my eye on this as well, because this is starting to get worse, I think. Let's get a bit more dynamic going. Okay, so that's going to be my end point for 40 limit. Because that is a heck of a snaky run through there, isn't it? If you look at it, like all the way from right down there in the distance, that there is the start of the 40 limit, all the way through this section here. Approaching the switch for the harbour, it's just about energy management down here. Just keeping it consistently at 40. Basically, all that entire run, from the moment I had to drop the speed to 40, I've had to keep it at 40 all the way down. Even though there's slightly quicker sections, the length of the train just means there's always some part of it still going through a 40 limit. And that's going to continue all the way through here, look. The only thing that varies is the gradient. And that just means adjusting dynamic brake to make sure that, you know, we back it off when we need to and increase the dynamic if it starts to go down a lot, like here it's about to, isn't it? It's a bit of a dive down here, but this is a 40 limit all the way through here as well. So we're going to start picking up momentum again, so I'll put a bit more dynamic back in. Minus 1.7 it says. I disagree. It is fun though, like doing jobs like this long and this heavy is a lot of fun. It really kind of hones your driving skills, I think. Alright, a bit more dynamic again. There's no point starting this because we're not out of the 40 limit yet. Once we make this turn, we will be. It's another misty day in the valley. Sunny, but very, very misty. Also, what's curious is you see the rain is still on the windows, like it hasn't dried up yet. I noticed that when I went over here and had a look and I saw all these little droplets. That's actually really cool, but it's interesting as well, like why it's not dried up yet. Okay, I'm going to start that now. And the main thing we're looking for next is going to be passing the sea yard marker. I want to jump out. I'm going to have to cancel the dynamic brake because I can't control the dynamic brake from the remote. So I need to back off all the dynamic brake before I jump out. And that there is the sea yard. That's where we need to back into. Yeah, I can say with a fair amount of assurance that the front of the train will probably still be in the E-yard when we make our initial drop. Let's just hope I set that correctly, otherwise there's going to be a very big crash. Okay, so we're making initially this drop here. We're looking for the rear of, what's that, 12 plus 3, rear 15 cars. It's probably going to be easier to spot if I get myself on this side, because we do actually have a flag. Finally, the back of the train. So I reckon the front of that train is probably going up that hill beyond the E-yard. It's that long. So we can actually look at these if you just base it on colour as well. There's obviously the brown one is here. And then we've got grey, then brown, brown, then red, and then we're going to have 7 grey cars. So that's what we need to look for, is the 7 grey cars. Which I presume is these here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so the next one should be green, because that's them. So hopefully there's a flag there. There it is. That's our flag. I'm going to grab that now. Because otherwise I might forget later. If you do forget, it will appear back in your shed eventually. There's a C2I, which is more or less straight in. Yeah, look at that. I mean, the front of that train. Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're going to drop this, and then we're going to just pull forward, and we'll go and hand it in while the train's driving forward. We're going to have to go forward of the E-yard, and then make our next drop into 8I for these 2 jobs here. There's no way this is going to fit into the E-yard without pulling forward of it. Tell you what, that signal booster, look at that. Before that signal booster was in the game, this would have been completely out of signal. But I am going to sprint over here. Curious, by the way, in case you didn't know, you can actually go via the water. If you want to straight line it, you can. And then get back on the key like that. Right then. Let's hand our first job in. 70 minutes out of 82, so we actually got a bonus on that one. And that's 64 grand. That's a lovely little bonus, that is. And then we want to go into E8I, which we can't set fully yet because we're driving through these switches here, but we can set these left and then right, so we can reverse into A to I. Right, finally, the back of the train is passing over this, so we can get the brakes on. And that should be that switch there, which it is. Like, this drop is all the, like, canned food and that kind of stuff. They're all in boxcars, so the one after that is tankers. So it's quite easy to identify what we're dropping here. We're going to stop at the tankers around about here if we can. It's quite a long job, this one, so if we accidentally go beyond the limit of the yard there, then it's probably... it's going to ask us to reposition, so we need to be a little bit careful with this one. I've already overshot it. There's no way that's going to break on time. Or maybe it will. Okay, a little bit more. A little bit more. I think that should do us right there. And hopefully the back is not beyond. Okay, so the rest of it's going into 9i, which should be, hopefully, right next to us here. So we just need to flick that switch there. Make sure this is pointed into 9. Okay. Left on that one now. And then right into 9. And 9 is completely clear as well. Okay, now, I'm just going to run back and hand those jobs in. I really don't think the bonus is available. But I'd hate for it to be available and I miss it by like a minute or something because I didn't do this. So I'm going to sprint as quickly as I can. Let's kill the speed on that. And hand both of these jobs in. And hopefully by the time I get back, this job won't be beyond this part of the yard here. These are now the first jobs that we picked up, and therefore reasonably don't have any chance of a bonus. I really don't think these do either, but it's worth a try. God, it's such a long run. Okay, right. 30... Wow, okay. Didn't expect that. Okay, so we just did that in record time and got a bonus on that as well. 34 out of 58 minutes, 17 grand job. And then that one got a bonus of 6 minutes for 60,000. So that was pretty good. I mean, that's way more payday than I thought we'd get. And hopefully just in time to get these as well. Now, I've got 2 jobs there, so I'm going to make sure we use all of this track as well. As long as it's before the join in the track down there, I'll stick that handbrake on. And we need to disconnect. Now both of these are going into 9, aren't they? Yes. So both that and the trams are in 9i. And that will also generate some nice shunting jobs, so you could, if you wanted to, take the shunting jobs as well. Move that forward. And we'll run back and hand this in. What do you reckon? Do you reckon we'll get the bonus for this as well? I don't think we will. This stuff came from the machine factory. It's had a very long run. This one will be over by about 20 minutes at least, I would have thought. In fact, no. I even slept, didn't I? So this one will be a lot of time away from the bonus. Wait, what? What? There we go. Okay, right. So amazingly, we got the bonus on that as well. That netted 50k. The only one we didn't get the bonus on was this one. And that says 200 minutes out of 100, so that's 100 minutes over. Still 126 grand for the trams, which tells me that the sleeping didn't penalise the job in any way, which I genuinely didn't know. So when you sleep, there's no penalty on the job. Okay, I don't know where the train is at this point. I better stop it and go and find it. Right, I found the train. It was halfway back towards the goods factory. There we go. There it is. And I'm gonna stop the engine. Put the handbrake on. Okay, so that's the mega job done. We're now on 2.2 million. That's the first time we've been over $2 million in the wallet. I don't know how it fits in the wallet. I don't know what $2 million looks like in real life, but I'm fairly sure it wouldn't fit in that wallet. Anyway, we need to get these things serviced over there because we've used quite a bit of fuel, I think. Get them all serviced up. We also need to get this part back up to the City West. And there may even be some jobs that go towards... Sorry, City South, not City West. There may even be some jobs that go to City South. But we are well and truly at the end of this video here. It's been quite a long one. Hope you've enjoyed it, though, guys. We are obviously getting towards the end of what's doable in the current version of Derail Valley. And I would be curious to know your comments on what you think, what you would like me to do before I bring this series to a close. Like, what stuff you'd like me to do within Derail Valley before I wrap up this series, because it's not that far from the end now, I don't think. Roadcraft, the game, also comes out next week. If you're watching this video, you know, within the few days of it coming out, then Roadcraft is coming out soon, and I will be focusing on that a lot during the week of release. So don't expect too much in Derail Valley content during the Roadcraft release. But yeah, let me know what you think about what you'd like to see me do before I wrap this thing up. That's it from me. Take care, guys. Happy training.